Hey guys, I get a lot of comments on my Instagram channel when we show photos of installing pre-assembled trim. How do we do it? What are the steps involved? What are the tools, etc.? Getting window trim miters tight can be a task even for the best carpenters, especially dealing with older plaster walls or uneven, surfaces. The task gets even more difficult when you install picture frame miters, which is miters all the way around, 4 miters. Over the past few years of doing carpentry, I've had the opportunity to both install picture frame miters in place, one piece at a time, as well as pre-assemble it on a table and put it up as one piece. I don't have to tell you that pre-assembling is always way more accurate, and it's going to result in a much tighter, nicer miters, and as well as a overall more professional looking product. Now, I try to pre-assemble my trim when I can, and I use a Kreg jig with self-tapping panhead pocket screws to get it done. Pre-assembling trim starts at the door or window that you're going to be installing on. And what I do is I measure the inside jamb to jamb measurements, width times length, and then I add for my reveals, width and height. In carpentry, a reveal is a feature resembling a rabbet, but constructed with different pieces of wood. For example, it's seen at the edge of a door or window where the face molding is actually set back a little bit. It's a reveal, a shadow line. The standard reveal for window and door moldings is 3/16 to 1/4 of an inch, but you can adjust it if you need to. Now, a combination square is probably the best tool I find to making the reveals. I have one in my tool belt, it just makes sense. And knowing this, I make my picture frame trim basically 1/4 inch bigger than the width and height of the jamb to jamb measurements. So that 1/4 inch gives me my reveal top and bottom. I mark my reveals on the door jambs as well, and I double check to make sure those measurements are accurate. Now, once I do that, I measure all my windows, I make a stock list, and then I head to the shop or the assembly table and get it done, right? So pre-assembling, with a Kreg jig, it probably best works with 3/4 inch trim or larger, but you can do it with 1/2 inch trim as well. Now, if I need to, I rip my trim to size, but then I bring it all to the miter saw and I cut everything to length and start cutting my miters. Remember, when you're cutting your miters, you're measuring and cutting from the short end of the miters. Those short end of the miters need to line up with your reveal marks, or this isn't going to work. And while I'm doing this to be efficient, I cut all of my stock at one time and I label it. Once that's cut, I label, stack, bring everything over to the Kreg jig, which I hook up to a vacuum because it makes a sawdust mess, and I just start drilling my holes. At the Kreg jig, I usually use a scrap piece of wood to test fit the location of my pocket holes because you don't want them to blow out or show. Once I find that location, I then go ahead and I clamp my miter trim into that jig, and I clamp it in this consistent same location every time that I found with the test piece. In my situation here, I clamped my miter trim in the Kreg jig, and I overlapped the miter, this long point of the miter, 1/4 inch off the jig. And that positioned my screw holes perfectly and resulted in good fastening for my miter. Now, when clamping the trim to the jig, ensure that the miter is flat to the bottom of the Kreg jig. Once clamped in that Kreg jig, I drill my pocket holes. And I usually just start on the left side on every trim piece, and this ensures that every piece screws into the next piece in a counterclockwise fashion. Look, alternatively, you could do it on the right side and work your way clockwise. It doesn't really matter at that point. It's a matter of preference. I just started on the left and I worked my way around. So it's a matter of preference at that point. Using clamps to hold at least one, sometimes 2 of your trim parts down to the table, I then use the Kreg self-tapping panhead screws, and you can use any self-tapping screws, some glue, and I fasten the joints together, the miters together. Now, when fastening, I try to ensure that the mitered boards are flush to each other, and that I get a nice tight joint. If they're not flush, I unscrew them, readjust them, try again. And when it's all done and said, if they're not 100% flush, Don't worry about it. You can sand it later with an orbital sander. So like I said, once everything is assembled, I wipe off the excess glue. I fill imperfections with wood putty. I stack them to dry. I like to leave them overnight to dry for the glue to dry, but you don't have to because you have screws in them. Now, when they're dry, I come back the next day or whatever. I sand all my miters flush. I soften my sharp edges with a block plane, and then I install them. When installing them, I basically go back to my reveal marks that I've made on the window jamb. I hold my trim up to those reveal marks, and I just fasten it off to the framing with 16 finished nails, and I sometimes use the brad nailer on the inside edge so I don't split the wood. The results are a consistent professional installation with long-lasting flush and tight miter joints. Guys, I hope this video tip helped you guys out. If you liked the video, please give us a thumbs up. Leave us a comment. I love hearing from you guys. I try to answer you when I can. Subscribe and hit that notification bell right there. When you hit the notification bell, it lets you know that we've posted a new video. I'm Rob Robillard. We'll see you next time. Take care.